going to be presenting a pitch on tech-enabled resilience for African missions, a case study of Nigeria. I'm glad that every one of us in this house, we are tech enthusiasts and we are mission-minded people, and I think this is the right place to make this presentation. So the aim is to create in us the awareness of securing our mission fields, preserving legacy, and empowering generations. I'll start by telling my story, just a very short story. The next one. My story from tech to missions. So that's me. When I graduated from the university, I started out my career in tech as an IT support with a tech company in Lagos. I was supporting Microsoft products, Word and Windows, and all the applications for users, consumers especially. And so before then, I was very certain that the Lord was leading me to be a missionary. However, I still had a passion for tech. So I was, I didn't know how to combine the two, but I was just trusting the Lord's leadership. And I had to quit my job in 2023 to go for School of Missions in Capo in Jos, Nigeria. And so that's me in the field in Sokoto there. So I've worked in Sokoto field, and currently I'm working in Mina. Thank you. All right, so this presentation, I did a quick survey from missionaries in Capo. Because of the short time I had, I wanted to do an intensive study, but there was a very limited time, so I had to focus on Capo missionaries to get this data. And so you can see a data of the people who responded to this survey. This is a very inclusive data. It tells you the participation of people who have been on the field for for 6 to 10 years, and people who are just starting out their career in missions, and people who have spent about 1 to 5 years on the field. So you have a very robust view of what they think about tech and missions. All right, so this is their primary area of ministry. They are mostly into church planting and evangelism. We have a group, some of our respondents from education and training, that's about 24.1% of them. A few people in community development and healthcare. So majority of our missionaries are into evangelism and church planting, and they share their needs of how tech is going to help them to solve these problems. So we have a huge problem in Nigeria with regards to missions. We have the threat of insurgency. 11 plus mission fields have shut down due to insurgency in northeast, northwest, and north central Nigeria. And Capo fields, among other fields, have been impacted. We have some of our fields like the Kanuris, the Gerawas, the Bamudus, and the Kotokos. Those fields have been shut down. And you know what that does to the gospel? The opportunities to continue to engage these communities with the gospel has been limited. And that's one problem that insurgency has created for us in missions. The next one is that we have little or no database about indigenous missionary efforts in Nigeria. I think the previous speakers have cleared the ground for me by talking about how much we need to launch into our data resources to be able to make impact in the global space. And missions is not left behind in this endeavor. So the indigenous work, the indigenous missionary effort in Nigeria has been on for about 50 years. I didn't only choose Capo as my study, my survey, because I work in Capo. I chose Capo also because Capo has the highest human resource for missions. We have about 830 plus missionaries in Capo, and it's an indigenous agency that started in 1975. In Nigeria alone, we have over 400 staff who are Nigerians. And so this gives us a robust perspective of what we are looking for. All right, so we have underutilized local potentials for missions mobilization in northern Nigeria. Most missionary efforts are channeled towards northern Nigeria because of their Islamic background. And over the years, it's 50 years of engagement with missions with the gospel in northern Nigeria, yet we still have to move people from southern Nigeria to the north. Is it not yet time for us to have indigenous people spearhead this task? I'm privileged that we have a cross-section of mission agencies, ECWA, Baptist, I know, Great Commission, several people in this meeting. And I acknowledge your efforts in pushing the gospel, especially the people who are engaged in cross-cultural church planting. However, the challenge is that we still have a need to make these people to own the work. How much effort are we making to ensure that these indigenous Christians begin to take responsibility to push the gospel, to own it as their responsibility, and not see missions as the work of others from strange lands? Do we have those people who are committed to make that's their dream? Okay, so the next, I just want to show you a survey of how many people who have told us how much insecurity is a threat to their work, and that you can see. We have 35.7% people acknowledging that they have moderate risk situation, and 32.1% saying they have very high risk situation, and then 25% saying minimal risk. So it tells you that insecurity is a big threat in missions in Nigeria especially, and I know that Africa too at large. So I'm going to share the opportunities that we have. Nigeria has one of the fastest growing population in Africa, and 20 plus mission agencies need affordable safety and data tools for continued operation. And if this problem of insurgency is not addressed, a time will come when we'll have people who are willing to do the work, but they are afraid because of the threats to their lives. We have huge untapped data of over 50 years of indigenous missions operation in Nigeria. I hope you know what resource we have in that regard, but how much of it are we utilizing? This is an opportunity for us to dig into these resources and make a difference in missions. There is a huge tech faith gap. Innovations in missions is little. AI has not been fully integrated in missionary efforts in Nigeria, and this is where we'll have the biggest population in Africa. So what are we going to do about this? This is supposed to be an opportunity for every one of us to brainstorm and find out means and processes that will help us to achieve our required results. So I'm going to be sharing some solutions, and this is not just all that we can do. We can go beyond that, and I believe that after my presentation, we're going to think about this. Regarding how far insurgency has created a lot of problem for us in Nigeria, and especially on our mission fields. We know recently of Pastor Musa of Grace Foundation, who was just kidnapped and was eventually released after they had paid a huge ransom. Capo has not been left behind also in this situation. We had a missionary who was killed in Kotoko mission field, and we've had a case of 15 of our missionaries kidnapped before they got released. So what can we do about this? We can utilize some technologies that can help us. And these technologies I have outlined, and one of them here is the drone surveillance and risk mapping, the encrypted GPS tracking and emergency alerts, mission headquarters having dashboard for real-time safety intelligence. This seems, some people may think that this is unattainable. We can't do this, but I want to assure you that we can do this if we put our mind to it. We can utilize the drone technology to handle this problem of insurgency that want to drive us out of the fields. And how can we do this? If we're able to partner with people who are mission-minded, and they are also tech experts, who are interested in building legacies and providing solutions through applications or softwares that can help us solve this problem. I chose this offline capacity because, in Nigeria, in Africa, we have a huge problem with our internet. Our internet is not fast. And then our missionaries in rural communities have little or no access to the internet. And so this is doable. We can do this. Again, to solve the problem of mission, to solve the problem of data on our fields. A good number of us working in our agencies, we know that based on our operations, we have a lot of data, but we are not maximizing them effectively. Many of us do not have dashboards. Many of us don't have database for our work. Our data, they are not collated. We have a lot of activities ongoing, but who knows what we are doing, because we don't have a track record. And the problem of poor data management is that we are not going to have a legacy that we can pass to the next generation. The younger generation will keep repeating the mistakes of the older generation because they don't know what to look at to make innovations for the future. So but how can we solve this problem? We can solve this problem by realizing that data is power. The last speaker said that whoever controls data controls the world. And we have a lot of information that we have been gathering over the years, that if we fully maximize it, we are going to make a lot of difference in missions. This data platform I'm recommending, Mission Data Management Platform. If organizations can come together, collaborate, and find a way to collate their data, we can also desire to build servers. We have smaller agencies that may not be able to source this, to purchase servers for their work. But we can come together collaboratively, and we have the tech experts help us make provisions on the servers where we can store our work, and help us to tell a story of our legacy and how much we are doing. We are able to hear the stories of several people, several white missionaries who came to Africa because they took the initiative to document their work while they were here. They have a story to tell about missions because they came to Africa, they came to Nigeria, they went to other locations, and where the problem is, they were able to gather data and tell the world the story. Can we begin to tell our stories? Can we begin to write our biographies? Can we begin to tell our challenges and the way forward in what we can do better? Can we begin to develop our mission archives? If I do a random survey of organizations in this place who have archives that we can quickly go back to and say, we want data about our work in a particular field in the last 15 years, do we have it? We have agencies like that who have this information at their fingertips. I would also recommend that we have digital storytelling toolkits. A lot of our missionaries on the field, there's a lot going on the fields. But you know what? There are some of them who are taking initiative to process this data. They store them on their phones. The organizations don't have access to it. And if that phone is lost or the person moves to another location, that information is completely lost. Can we begin to build systems that will collate our work generally, and we have a database where our information is safe? We have physical data or perhaps cloud servers that would help us manage our resources, because we need this to tell our story and to know how far we can project into the future to solve the problem. Another solution about the indigenous missions mobilization is transferable audio-visual missions mobilization materials in indigenous languages. I shared a problem about getting the indigenous believers to own their work, to own missions and push it. And here is a solution. One problem identified is that people who are working among the unreached people groups in northern Nigeria, because of the threats to the lives of these people when they accept Jesus, they are faced a lot of persecution and all of that. Sometimes some mission agencies taking them out of the fields, take them to safe places where they can practice their faith, while some others, like Capo, choose to stay in those communities and build the indigenous believers up. However, because of the threats to their lives, missions mobilization is not introduced to them at the point of making decision for the gospel. We want to groom them a little more so that they can be safe enough to share. They can understand the basics. They are first of all discipled before they are taught about missions mobilization. And when they have fully understood what it takes to be a Christian, it becomes difficult for them to share their faith. And when we begin to push them towards that area, it seems as if we are putting a lot of baggage on them. While we engage them with the gospel, we have come up with solutions like sharing audio Bibles. And yes, they can move around with those audio Bibles secretly and nobody knows what they are doing. Can we also create audiovisual materials that can be transferable, devices in that manner that tells them about the story of indigenous missions effort in their communities? They should know the threats reaching their people. They should know the threats that southerners or visitors from other locations face while reaching them. The threat of life, the difficulty of adjusting to their culture, and several problems that cross-cultural missionaries face in the course of adjusting to people in their local communities. If our indigenous believers get these resources that they can carry around at the time of conversion, and they begin to see the stories of people who have labored in their communities, they begin to see the opportunities they have to utilize their own skills in their own cultural context to share the gospel. I'm sure they can do something about it. Some of them do not have the knowledge to do this because we have not given them the privilege to get that information. I believe that when we are done in this meeting, we'll be able to do something about that. Yes. Okay, so why have I chosen these solutions? Why do I think that these solutions are doable? I didn't just think this up in my head. Through the survey, we got that 48.3% of the respondents identified poor internet access as a challenge. And so they're opting for offline technologies that will be most suited to address the problems on the fields. 100% of the respondents are willing to adopt affordable technologies. They are willing to pay a token for resources that can help them do their work effectively. And then these solutions are scalable from Africa, from Nigeria to all Africa. We can do something about it. All right, just a little more on the poor internet access challenge that we have. On the issue of insurgency or threats, security problems, there are some apps that have been developed by people, and that some of those apps are like Bridgify. Bridgify is an offline SMS application that you can use in a situation of threat, where you can share information about where you are and the other person can get to know what's going on. But the problem with Bridgify is that Bridgify uses a Bluetooth technology, limiting the access to only 20 meters. So if all of us caught up in this room and we are under a threat of insurgency, people outside can't help us. So Bridgify doesn't do so much to help solve that problem, even though it's an offline technology. We also have another technology that is helping to address the issue of insurgency, and that's Life 360. Life 360 is a premium app adopted by many families in the West. It's effective because it can tell your live location. It can tell where you are if your data is on. Again, it's a premium app that you have to pay monthly, and that subscription, most missionaries in Nigeria may not be able to afford it. It's also an internet-based application that is not even effective for us in our fields where we don't have internet access. So people are trying to solve these problems, but those problems and those solutions they are bringing, they are not faith-rooted solutions designed by or for missionaries to meet the most needs of our target audience. So can we have tech people who are passionate about safety of missionaries on the field, who are passionate about helping us maximize our data, and people who want to give our indigenous believers the opportunity to engage their community with the gospel? Can they partner with us to provide solutions? And I know that those people are in this room. So the challenges, these are the biggest technology-related challenges that we'll face in our mission fields. And this is a survey that I did. So you can see how much poor internet access has contributed. 48.3% of the respondents have said that poor internet access is a problem. There is limited or no electricity, and 50% of the people have recorded that. Just give me a moment. Okay, thank you. No, please go back the previous slide. 1 minute. It's something is covering, so let me read from what I have. So we can see the problem on, we have poor internet access. That's over 50% people responding. Okay, and low digital skills. Low digital skills is a problem. 46.6% of respondents have raised a concern about not having skills that are relevant in engaging digital solutions that would be available for them. So that tells us also what we can do about it. All right, so the impact we can have when these solutions are, when we have these solutions, the impact we will have is safety. Kidnapping can be eradicated on our fields, and we can reduce casualties of missionaries and indigenous believers. We'll be able to preserve our stories for our generation that are coming. We're also going to have increased indigenous workforce for missions mobilization, and these solutions are scalable from Nigeria to Africa. The call to action is, first, that you should know that missionaries do not have a problem with tech or using it. They just don't have who to teach them. The first challenge is hardware tech issues. If this is addressed, adopting softwares will be a lot easier. So I invite you to partner with us to co-create scalable solutions and donors who can fund resilient mission infrastructure, and we can also have tech professionals who will volunteer and build these tools. Thank you.